really enjoyed the best of 7 that I got to cast a few days ago between Reynor and GgMaChine. It was played on the Patches mod, which is effectively an alternate version of StarCraft 2 multiplayer balance, and I was surprised with how well all of those games ended up playing out. So I figured we need to have a look at some more games. I figured we need to have a look at some Protoss. So spawning right here in the bottom left in game number 1 on a map called Rorschach. Playing right here with the blue Protoss species, we have Classic. His opponent down in the bottom right, playing in red, we once more have Reynor. Now, as we know, this was a double elimination tournament, meaning that this does not necessarily mean that Reynor is going to be the victor, right? Like, that may be a spoiler if you realize that Reynor made it to the finals as well, and Classic did not. That could be considered a spoiler, but because this is a double elimination, and Reynor indeed ended up coming in from the lower bracket. Lucky for all of us, and myself included, I actually don't know who ended up winning this particular match. It's going to be a best of 3 between 2 of the very best players in the game. Now, just like last time around, I mean, now I have an understanding of how Zerg works. They have new units, like, for example, the Swarm Queen. Larva gets generated more frequently at Lairtech. There's new upgrades for basically all units. I did briefly scroll through all of the changes that Protoss has as well, but I think the easiest thing that I can go ahead and do is just Ctrl F the 40+ page document that Patches put out about this particular mod to really try and follow along with exactly what is going on. And if you're interested in reading along as well, I'll go ahead and post a link down below in the description to the Google Docs as well, where you can follow along with all the changes too. So far, though, I gotta say, the response to this mod has been awesome. It seems like a lot of people are enjoying watching these games, and I think most people are in agreement that a lot of the changes could be implemented onto the official ladder. So this is obviously a fan-made mod, but it's been refined over such a long duration, and the reasoning behind all of the changes seems, yeah, very reasonable to pretty much everybody, that I think it's a really good idea to maybe shed more of a light on these changes as well through, for example, me casting some of these games, and then, yeah, maybe Blizzard implementing some of it as well in the future, because I really do like a lot of the intentions. Now, okay, I was wondering how Protoss would be opening up against Zerg. It looks like we have a good old low ground expo, good old Nexus here on the low ground, of course, and then a, well, Stargate inside of the main base. This is one of those things that hasn't apparently changed very much. Obviously, this is just my very first game of ZVP that I'm looking at. And obviously, Classic may not necessarily be considered to be the most creative player out there. I actually have some hero games on this mod as well, so maybe we should have a look at that best of 3 that he played against GgMaChine after this one. Anyways, we'll start with this. Maybe he's got some more spicy builds, but this should at the very least give us a decent understanding as to what this matchup is currently like, and I heard that, well, Classic versus Reynor was a bit of a banger. Good old Oracle here first, Adept going across the map. We don't really see either player making any big changes just yet. I do want to have a peek and see whether or not there's any low-hanging fruits right here for the Protoss. Let me have a look at, for example, the Adept. Did the Adept get changed at all? It's got another upgrade, apparently, that you can go ahead and research, called Amplified Plating in the Twilight Council. It increases the Adept's life by 20. Okay. Adepts do have a tendency to... Ooh, almost a disaster. Adepts do have a tendency to fall off. Quick Evo Chamber opener, though, for Reynor. They have moved the ability to go for a Dropper-Lord from Lairtech to the Evo Chamber, meaning that Reynor can actually get some hatchery tech-based aggression down that isn't immediately an all-in, although Classic is accidentally stumbling upon that Overlord. Oracle inside of the main base right now, going on against a Queen. Looks like still two-shotting the workers here, as is to be expected, and we do have some links going in. Trying to get across the map. The healing shrine here at the bottom of Rorschach is pretty awesome, of course. Maybe the Adept could survive for a little bit longer, but just buying time, yeah, to make sure that you can shut down this Overlord is not a bad idea. Classic actually decided to respond here with a Phoenix, just to try and deny this altogether, and this is a little bit awkward now. Otto, the Overlord that got a promotion, is going to die, achieving, yeah, very little, although I guess he managed to successfully force out a Phoenix. And obviously, we already had that Evo Chamber now planted down too. Normally, you only ever get this in this matchup for +1 melee early on, but now he decided to get it just for the Dropper-Lord and nothing else for now. Second Stargate, and then, whatever this is. Cyber Core. I do not recognize the symbols. Oh, it's called Cybernetics Core, Lowko. Cybernetics Core. Everybody calls it Cyber Core, but that's not the official name. Cybernetics Core. Graviton Restoration is a new ability for the Phoenix? Is that what it is? Oracle's going in once more, though, for a little bit of damage. There are more Stargates added into the mix, so I guess Classic is indeed planning on doubling down on some Phoenixes. So what does it do? It allows the Phoenix to rapidly regenerate shields while Graviton Beam is active. Ah, so normally the Phoenix that's lifting is the one that's most vulnerable. So this costs 100 minerals and 100 gas, takes 79 seconds to research, and it's gonna allow Phoenix builds to potentially be a little bit more powerful, because as it is right now in the current meta, double or triple Stargate Phoenix builds are, yeah, completely out of the ordinary. We used to see this more in the early days of StarCraft 2, but these days, it's very rare. So the reasoning from Patches is that it adds a fun new mid-game upgrade to the Phoenix without making Phoenix styles more oppressive. Graviton Restoration can be researched in place of an air attack or weapon upgrade, and this upgrade allows the Phoenixes to regen up to 100 shields while the Graviton Beam is active. So a little bit more of a micro trick as well, I suppose, because now you would benefit maybe, at the very least depending on how this works out, now you might be able to benefit from specifically using the low HP Phoenix to do the lifting. Normally you'd actually pick the opposite one. We already have +1 air weapons now following this up too. The research did indeed already finish. I'm hoping that's, by the way, what the upgrade is. I actually did not quite finish the name of the upgrade while it was on the right side of the screen. These casts are a little bit chaotic. Sadly, I am still unable to move my eyeballs independently of one another. If I could, I would look one on the main screen and then one on the Google Docs. Sadly, not the case. Oracles, ooh, going in. This is bait. Are we gonna lift the queens? I think we are gonna lift the queens. At least he's thinking about it. The queens are running, though. No swarm queens available. We do have a Hydralisk then coming in. Oh my god, yeah, they are regenning. Okay. Well, this is an absolute disaster for Reynor. Absolute disaster. Losing that many queens at this stage in the game, and now obviously the ones that are lifting are also going to be quite well shielded. We have a Baneling roll-by, though. Not even a roll-by. Wait a second. It's just a waddle-by? Is that what we can call it? These guys are just waddling into the mineral line and just destroyed everything. Classic. Classic, no. We had the perfect setup. Until we didn't. Void Rays right now are going to be Classic's next weapon of choice. Man, he's absolutely blasting, though, with the Phoenixes. So supposedly, according to the description that Patches gave it, this isn't supposed to really make Phoenixes oppressive. Well, at least in this one-off game. They do seem to be pretty darn good, I will say. Man, did we lose any of them? Yeah, just a single one. Honestly, as long as you have energy, you may as well keep swooping in, even with triple Spore Crawler set up. These Phoenixes need to be respected, man. That's triple Spore, even quadruple Spore, soon to be in the natural. Man, so many Spore Crawlers. So 9 of them in total, 10th one coming in. That is also effectively 10 additional worker kills, right? I mean, at least those drones are no longer around, and it's hardly the end of the aggression. Okay, so we have Void Rays right now on the back of this. They're going for their good old Flux Veins upgrade. It is actually in the live version of StarCraft 2 as well. It's just one of those things that is rarely researched because Void Rays are a little bit of an awkward unit to go for. I wonder if maybe Classic expected the Zerg here to respond not with Hydralisks, but with Corruptors? If the response was Corruptors, then Void Rays would have been, yeah, a really good choice. I mean, they're still going to be pretty excellent when it comes to blasting down structures. Not so bad. There we go. The beams are being made thick. And that will be the end of this hatchery, I believe. Even though there are some Hydralisks out. Man, the fact that Reynor managed to blow up a mineral line with a handful of Banelings really is keeping him in this game. Because without that moment, without him being able to kill 22 probes just like that, I think this game would have been pretty much over. I mean, imagine the lost resource count right now in Classic if he saved those probes. It would have been, yeah, extremely one-sided. And you know what? We even have some more Banelings apparently trying to make their way towards that base. Okay. So Flux Veins has been moved. Ah, so that's why we saw it this early. I did not quite have a chance to check for that yet. But Flux Veins, aka the Void Ray movement speed boost, as he does snipe another base, has been moved to the Cyber Core. So rather than it being in the fleet beacon, it's now in the cybernetics core. So that's, I guess, what Classic has been going for. It was the Phoenix regen upgrade first, then +1 attack, then Flux Veins, and now into a fleet beacon. So it says in the description, currently the Void Ray is extremely niche. The armor buff is intended to give the Void Ray a slight boost in strength. Okay, so they also apparently have 1 base armor. Fair enough. And then Flux Veins has been moved to the Cybercore to encourage more diverse air openers, but it does take about a half minute longer to now research. Okay, Classic is really just doubling down on Skytles though. We have a lot of changes made to the ground units as well, but there's 3 additional Stargates going up. We're adding on a load of photon cannons as well. Yep, Classic is a man with a plan here. And the plan is flying units. This is everybody's ally in team games. There's always one guy in the corner massing Tempests or Carriers or, well, whatever else you can really find. That's Classic for you, apparently, in this particular game. Okay. We've got ourselves a infestation pit right now coming up as well. Reynor trying his very best to just stay alive. He's going straight into the hive. I wonder if he's going to be going for any of the new upgrades as well. So, one thing, for example, that they've made is... well, they've removed Microbial Shroud and they added the Infested Terran back to the Infestor. As we have the Void Ray hit squad going in for another push. Flux Veins is going to allow at least most of them to escape. The Infested Terran, though, does work differently than pretty much all of us remember. It is now going to be something you have to basically prepare in advance, and it's no longer an energy-based design. Instead, you have to basically pay for each individual Infested Terran. So every Infestor can be queued up with an Infested Terran. They can have 4 of them in total. I think they cost 20 minerals, if I'm not mistaken, each. And then you can use them at any given moment. So it's an interesting design choice, and one that's very different than what Blizzard ended up going for with their iteration of the unit, and I quite like the idea. The good old Infested Terran, man. Maybe we should indeed bring it back. At least if it's not free unit, right? Free unit design, that's usually the main problem. As long as it's not a free unit, it might be okay. For now, though, you can just use this as well for fungal growth. We could also go into the neural parasite research here in just a moment. As we now have a full carrier transition, I don't think it would be a bad choice. Classic trying to now go up to 5 bases as well. Reynor not really able to put on a whole lot more additional damage at this stage in the game. At this point, by the way, this is another change they did make. When you get a fungal growth down on some of the Skytles units, you're unable to recall out of there. So I feel like that's something that should be in the live version of the game too. I mean, any sort of movement skill is inhibited by fungal growth. It's a little bit weird that there's an exception for mass recall. Like if you blink a bunch of Stalkers forward and they get fungal, you can't blink back, right? And that should be the case. Ay, ay, ay. Well, we were following those units around, and just like us, Classic was caught off guard. Void Rays, though, are now once again shooting the laser beams. A little bit of stutter step micro on them as well. All right, we have a new upgrade. What in the world is this? Infestation Pit. There's an upgrade called Pressurized Glance for the Swarm Host. There is... no, I think this has to be for the Infested Terrans. That makes a lot more sense. I don't think we're going to see... well, maybe. But I don't think we're going to be seeing Swarm Hosts in this type of setup. Tissue Preservation. 100 minerals, 100 gas. 79 seconds. The effect is that it increases the Infested Terran's health by 5 and evolves them to last twice as long while burrowed. 16 Spore Crawlers coming up in this game, by the way, so Reynor is ready to turtle up in a very similar manner as Classic has been. All right, so we have a bit of turtling going up against a bit of turtling. Both players just having really their sides of the map covered. Not more else, right? The 12 o'clock base right now is gone. I'm assuming Classic will probably be aiming for this base over here on the left in just a moment. But let's think about this in for just a moment, right? So we've got ourselves, yes, Infested Terrans being queued up here in the Infestor. So let me just get to the exact details. Incubate Infested is what the new ability is called. 20 minerals to make an Infested Terran, and you can have a maximum of 4 per Infestor. 14 seconds for an individual Infested Terran to be spawned. 75 HP, but then the tissue preservation makes it a little bit better. And it has timed life, so as soon as you spawn it, it's going to die out over time. Careful here, Classic. Yeah, he doesn't yet know what he's likely going to be playing against. This is the upgrade for the Hydralisk HP. I believe it's 10 additional hit points for the Hydra. He's actually getting it before the ranged upgrade. That's quite interesting. Immortal ends up getting sniped over here on the left side of the map. But honestly, I'm a little bit surprised we even go for any of that. Wait, is this what I think it is? Is that Graviton Catapult? Graviton Catapult. That used to be an upgrade. Yeah, it is. Huh. So that used to be an upgrade that we had in StarCraft 2. That's what the symbol of the ability looked like. And then they removed it. So Graviton Catapult, the launch effect of the Interceptor is now increased. The first 4 Interceptors are launched at a cooldown of 0.25. Or no, sorry, 1.25. And the last 4 at 0.25. So the idea behind that research is that you can now deploy your first 4 Interceptors quicker. Interesting. There's also another carrier upgrade called Kijkwijzer Shielding. Increases the shield regeneration by 17.2 and reduces the shield regen delay from 10 seconds to 0.5 seconds. So these changes improve the carrier interactions throughout the mid and late game by reducing the strength of A-move characters, while adding new upgrades and mechanics that greatly reward micro. So less of an A-movie unit, and more of a micro-based unit. And the reason that you have to micro it more is because they changed a bunch of the, for example, launch interceptor range. So they're a little bit faster moving now, but you can't launch the interceptors from as far away. Meaning that you have to move a little bit closer with your carriers to get that job done. Now, I feel like we have a very large engagement looming here in just a moment. I'm very curious to see how these fights will go down, right? I mean, we're gonna likely get fungal growth, parasitic bomb abduction. We're likely gonna see Psystorm here for Classic. We have Mama thinking about maybe doing a mass recall into the main base, although she has a 4th ability too that I actually don't quite know. Reynor is in the wrong position though, but is he even able to get the units of the Protoss into the main base? Classic is gonna try. This is a mass recall onto a lot of Spore Crawlers, but there we have the entirety of the Protoss army going in. Mama sacrificing herself. Carriers indeed unable to really launch their interceptors from as far away, meaning that they have to be a little bit more exposed. Ooh, that is a very neat little animation there on the Psystorm. Looks like we're gonna see the Protoss destroy the main base here of Reynor, but at the cost of the mothership. I feel like losing those extra Vipers made it quite a little bit better. Look at them! We have a bunch of Infested Terrans raining from the skies. Storms landed on top of them. We do have some abductions as well, though, and ultimately, I don't think there's enough Psystorm here for Classic. Wait a second. Is Classic's army just gonna get destroyed? We have a lot more energy. He decides to recall some of the units out again, but this is taking a while. Because of the fungal growth, he couldn't get all the units out. Okay. So, a lot of interesting moves, a lot of interesting plays, but I think ultimately this only could really have benefited the Zerg, who's now also able to sneak out another base over here at the very top of the map. He's also now secured this forward expansion quite nicely. It's so interesting, right, to see all these different abilities coming in, and somehow, some way, the subdermal creep follicles research does finish up, and if I'm not mistaken, that's actually a queen buff, right? Subdermal creep follicles. Yeah, that's for the Swarm Queen. So, in case you did not see the previous series that I cast between Bjorn and Reynor, it's an ability that allows you to, or it's an upgrade you can add to a queen. So you can transform a queen into what is called a Swarm Queen, where it loses the ability to inject, but it's a more offensive unit instead. And the subdermal creep follicles allows the queen to passively generate creep as it walks. So I think this is like the ultimate endgame type of upgrade you want to get if the map like completely mines out of minerals. It's probably not a bad idea to then add on some Swarm Queens as well, or maybe it's worth getting already at this stage in the game. I'm not entirely sure. Classic has decided, though, that he's really doubling down on just a whole lot of Skytos, and I don't mind it. This is an interesting transition, too. But I've got a feeling that Reynor, when he is, turtled up with this many spore crawlers, he's practically unbreakable if it's carriers alone. Maybe Tempest can make a bit of a change, right? I don't think that would be a bad idea. I would like to look up, though, what the High Templar changes are, because is it just a visual change? Or is there a lot more to it? Okay. Alright, can I look away? Can I look away from the main engagement for just a moment? So the High Templar Sonic Storm cost rather is cheaper. So the research is 50 minerals, 50 gas cheaper. The range is a little bit bigger, but the radius is smaller. The Psy Storm model is indeed changed, but that's really just apparently what they call a quality of life change to make it more visually apparent where the ability is being cast. Here we have more Infested Terrans going in, dude. So weird. Do we like Infested Terrans? It's just that, like, I get this knee-jerk reaction because the unit was so broken for so long to really dislike it immediately. But I think since this version, right, costs 20 minerals each, it's probably not that big of a deal. The main problem is that they used to be just energy-based, so Zergs would make like 50 Infestors and then have free armies that they could effectively spawn indefinitely, right? And that was what the main problem was. Since every single one of these is very killable, it's really not the end of the world. We've got ourselves what I think is an Ultralisk boost as well. We've got ourselves, what is this? I guess a upgrade for the Colossus? That looks like the co-op upgrade that allows you to burn the ground where the Colossus has been walking. Neuroparasites, though, are going in. Is this an overextension from Reynor? I believe it is. Reynor trying to make a swap on over towards Ultralisks, but he's losing so many units in the process. This is, of course, both players very much so experimenting with all these changes, too. Now, Ultras are not going to be great when it comes to killing air units, right? But they might be able to get some work in on the ground. 5 additional carriers get queued up. Apparently, Classic is not impressed by the Ultras. He does start up a bunch of Immortals, though, ready to destroy any of the units on the ground. Why are we killing our own Ultra? Probably don't want to do that. Last time I checked, you're better off not attacking your own Ultralisk. Okay, Classic actually takes that fight. Scorching Flame? Okay, Scorching Flame and then optimized Bioaccumulation. Scorching Flame. It increases the Colossus strength against large groups of smaller units while rewarding good micro. So, upgrades the Colossus to deal an additional 15 damage over 3.5 seconds? Effect does not stack. Oh, okay. It kind of looks like the research that you have in multiplayer and I think... Or sorry, in co-op and then in a single player where it like leaves a little streak on the ground with like a burning effect. I guess it's the same name, maybe? The same visual, but then apparently not quite the same effect. So it gives a damage over time effect to the Colossus specifically, making it, I guess, better against Infested Terrans. At least that's the idea. The what was it? Accumulation, optimized bioaccumulation, evolves the Ultralisk to heal for 10% of the damage dealt. Right. So this gives a vampiric lifesteal ability to the Ultralisk, and right now the Neuroparasites are going absolutely bananas. The Ultras, when they are fighting, man, they're dealing so much damage that they're staying alive. Corruptors coming in when Classic least expects it, and I think this is now going to be the transition that Reynor has been looking for all this time. There's still a lot of money available, though, at least out on the map. Neither player really desperate for cash just yet, but Reynor has more resources available, and he's quickly remaxing yet again. Classic says question marks? Wait, did somebody attack their own units? Was, I guess, he confused about one of the abilities that was going on? Maybe the Ultralisk surviving for that long, or maybe something else happened in that fight that I did not quite see. Because let's just be honest, there's a lot of shiny things going on. GGG gets cold is Reynor, who wins game number 1. Okay, next up, we find ourselves on Blackrock. Both players experimenting with some of the changes. But I think going pure Skytles against a... just in general, against a top-level Zerg is probably not ideal. It's just so difficult, and it sounds so silly, right? But it's just so difficult to beat a Zerg player when they have, like, 50 Spore Crawlers set up. What do you even do as Protoss at that point if you're going Skytles? It's just really difficult to beat. It's not quite the same when you're, I don't know, going up against 50 Spine Crawlers. If you see 50 Spine Crawlers, you can probably just kill them with some Immortals or something along those lines, right? But Yeah, it's one of the difficulties of playing this this matchup in general, I think. Pure Skytos rarely does the job. Although I will say, early on, Classic was absolutely dominating. Imagine this previous game just now, with Classic not losing his entire mineral line, like a mineral line and a half, to a bunch of slow banelings. I think that would make the game a little bit better for Protoss. Yeah, I'm gonna be brave enough to admit to that. I think the entire game would have probably been over by like minute 10. Instead, killing that mineral line allowed Reynor to, experiment with some of the late game changes. And they turn out to be pretty good. Okay, hatch gas pool. Pylon, gateway, and nexus. Into a 20-ish supply cyber core, yeah. Looking at these games, by the way. 12 worker start. Yes. 12 worker start better than 8 worker start. Now that we've had the 8 worker start in the live version of the game for a couple months, I don't like it that much. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay initially, but now it's just kind of, I don't know. It was kind of fun initially, but now everybody's kind of used to the 8 worker start and it's just slowed the game down for no reason. And in order to make up for it, they've sped everything else up and now everything is kind of fast again. I don't know. It's a bit random. This version of StarCraft 2 feels a little bit more refined. I feel like one of the big differences between a 12 worker start and an 8 worker start is that with a 12 worker start, everything lines up better. This sounds silly, but the game is more satisfying to play when everything lines up better. In the live version of the game, you have to cut quite a bit. It's so awkward sometimes, especially with Terran, where you're trying to build some stuff and it just doesn't really work. Anyways, it's going to be a Twilight Council. So no Stargate this time around for Classic. What do we have differently in the Twilight Council? As we have still the earlier part of the game. There's an upgrade called Phase Reactor. Let's see what we have. We also obviously heard of the Amplified Plating for the Adept. Oh, it's a Twilight Council for a Dark Shrine. Okay. So the build time of the Dark Shrine has been reduced from 71 seconds to 57 seconds. It is to pair with the reworked Dark Templar. This change allows you to tech up to the new Stalker, Tachyon, Emitters, and Phase Reactor upgrades faster. Wait a second, what? So there's an upgrade for the Stalker called Tachyon Emitters. I don't know how you pronounce this. Tachyon? I don't know. It increases the Stalker's attack range by 1.5. Are we going Dark Shrine just so we can go for a ranged upgrade for Stalkers? That would be bloody amazing. I'm not gonna lie, that would be so freaking funny. So you would research this in the Dark Shrine. Or are we just... Oh, he's getting Blink. I think he's going Blink together with that upgrade I was just talking about. We have a Swarm Queen, by the way, coming in on the other side of the map. No, he is also going for a Dark Templar now. Hello, Brenda. You're looking mighty fine today. We do have a bunch of Dark Templar going around, fair enough. Third Nexus is going to be acquired. Zerg going into the good old Roach Warren. Keep in mind that in the Roach Warren now there is a Hive Tech upgrade that allows you to reduce the Roach supply count by 1. Cutting the supply count for Roaches in half. It's actually quite a big deal. Let's see if this Dark Templar can likewise also be a big deal. Dropper coming up yet again here for the Zerg. This is actually one of my favorite changes so far. It's so small, but moving the Dropper Lords to, Evo Chamber rather than Lair seems so much better for at least early game variety. Right, and that's one of the goals that they have with this mod. Zergs really only do harassment in StarCraft 2 right now with Zergling run-bys and Baneling roll-bys, I guess. And other than that, everything is an all-in. This is a bit of variety, I guess, right? We can do a little bit of a private jet for the Zerg. It's still a commitment, but at least it all comes out quite a bit sooner. Ooh. Nice little bit of probe micro so far, though. He's trying to do what is called probe drilling. Yeah, still 8 workers is a lot. Not enough gateways or warp gates available to really be warping in a lot of units with. The Dark Templar going to town. Ooh, one of them is naked. How was one of the Dark Templar naked? Hold up. What happened to the DT? Sorry, I'm gonna go back. I want to see that. I want to see that uncloaked DT again. Why did you uncloak? Dark Templar? Oh, the Dark Templar decloaks for 2 seconds after being damaged. So it's made cheaper. It's 100 minerals, 100 gas. Down from 125, 125. They decloak for 2 seconds after being damaged. So what happened there is he got detected by the Spore Crawler, which I guess made him get hit by the Queen once, and then the Dark Templar died because of it. So these changes, it says, paired with the faster Dark Shrine and the Stalker Tachyon Emitters upgrade and Phase Reactors upgrade, are aimed at making the Dark Shrine a more prominent tech path while keeping early Dark Templar balance through the decloak mechanic. The Dark Templar maintains its defensive strength without being too oppressive offensively. Yeah. No, I actually really like the idea of that. It also is going to make Archons a little bit easier to play. So there's one of the upgrades. Look at that. It's going to make Archons easier to play as well out of Dark Templar rather than going High Templar. Right? Because, yep, there we go. Right now, if you want to go Dark Templar, it's very much so the cheesy path. I think we can all agree with that, right? Like, if you open Dark Templar, yeah, you could go DTs into Archon drops, and that's a build order that's really not that cheesy. But most of the time, DTs only get made as a one-trick type of unit composition. I really like the idea of making it more of a core unit instead. So, Dark Shrine is quicker to build. Dark Templar is cheaper to build, meaning that you can make Archons a little bit easier too, but at the same time, they're not as strong offensively. That seems reasonable to me. They're still one-shotting drones, so they're not really that much worse. We have this upgrade, by the way, for the Stalker now. So what is the other one called? Phase Reactor. I think that's probably what that was. Phase Reactor in the Twilight Council, but requires the Dark Shrine and Blink to be done. Okay. Improves the Stalker Blink to restore 40 shields over 4 seconds. Oh. The shift of shields is very... Okay, so they basically are trying to make this a more microable unit later on into the game. So Stalkers right now in the live version of StarCraft really fall off the longer that a game goes on for. At least in Protoss vs. Zerg. I'm a little bit worried about how this would work in PvT. But in Protoss vs. Zerg, the Stalker really does lose value the longer that the game goes on. So this means that you can continue making the unit longer in the game and potentially still get some value out of it. Very good idea in concept, right? Like, I don't know about any of the values. I'm not really sure about any of the numbers, right? But the concepts, that's where I feel like this mod is really onto something. The overall ideas are all very good. I think nobody out there would not like Dark Templar to be a more common unit, right? Nobody out there would be against Stalkers being useful later into the game. Without making them oppressive early on, you may as well add more upgrades, like, for example, that. We also have the Corrosive Ball buff. If I'm not mistaken, this research makes it so that the Corrosive Ball lands quicker. So right now, there's like I think it's like a 4-second cast time on that ability. And after this is researched, they land significantly faster. Reynor doing a good job, though, so far, keeping this Protoss army at bay. Rapid Expulsion. Ah, right. That was my nickname in college. I remember now. He doesn't have a whole lot of Ravagers remaining anymore. But I wouldn't mind seeing this in action. Can we do a couple Corrosives? The ability is done. I want to see how fast they land. Reynor. Oh. Yeah. Rapid Expulsion. Reduces the land time for Corrosive Balls. Yes. Requires a lair as well as a Roach Warren. 100 minerals, 100 gas. It's basically another upgrade you can go ahead and make into... Wait, what? What just killed probes? Oh, is it just a Zergling drop? What? Lads, are we just sleeping on the job here for a while? Okay. Well, that's kind of unnecessary. These cheeky Overlord drops, man. The Zerglings getting around. They're what's ultimately making this game very difficult for Classic. I like Classic's build order. I think his strategy has been really cool. But then in the process, throughout this game, he has lost 17 workers. And I think that may just be a little bit too much. This is, by the way, making Protoss extremely micro-focused. Whereas for the Zerg, they're really just attack moving. Just something to consider, I suppose. Yeah, this is just an oppressive number of Stalkers now. You can maybe micro these, sorry, oppressive number of Hydras. You can micro these Stalkers to your heart's content, but you need to be very careful that you don't just get utterly overwhelmed by the sheer number of Zerg. But that's mostly because of the worker losses, though, right? Like, if you don't lose that many probes, your ultimate army is going to be way bigger, too. And this is going to reward better players, right? Like, the better you are at microing your units, the better it's going to be for you to, well, play Protoss now. Oh my god, we again have nothing in the wall off. Zealot sleeping on the job. Zerglings get in again. He is going to recall about half the Stalkers into the main base, but that's an additional whole lot of probes going down. And it's a bit of a disaster. Yeah, great strategy by Classic. Execution, however, on the base defense, not nearly as good. Maybe what this patch should also introduce is a Protoss door. What do you guys think? Zergs wall off, every once in a while, but it's not as big a deal. Terrans can use supply depots. How about you can, I don't know, lift your pylon up in the air and then you lose your power field temporarily or something like that, you know? How about you could put a pylon down over here and then if you want to leave units out, you have to lift it off and then the structures are no longer powerful. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here, but I feel like that would be one of the easiest quality of life improvements for Protoss. Give Protoss a door. Wait, whoa. He just manually cast charge. Oh! Look at the lads running. Sorry, I missed that. That's pretty sick. Zealot. Oh my god, there's 17 balance adjustments to Zealots. I'm not exaggerating. That's literally what it says. Zealot build time. Okay. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Oh my lord. Oh god. Oh jeez. All right. Well, that's a problem. Kinetic Safeguard. Research for the Zealot. 150 minerals, 150 gas. The upgrades charge to grant +2 shield armor for 3.5 seconds. Oh yeah, no, it also says charge rework. So charge can now be casted without a target. You can still, however, also leave it on autocast. Well, it does not really matter much in this particular game, but that I also really like the sound of. Why can't you just manually cast charge on Zealots? Why do you have to have a target to charge your Zealots on? Why would you not just be able to press the ability and run away? It makes so much sense. All right, that previous series is over. Reynor ended up obtaining the victory. What in the world are we doing here? Oh god. Spotting right here in the bottom right in this best of 3, we have GgMaChine, recently really making a name for himself as one of the up-and-coming Zergs, man. This guy's 17 years old, and he's been competing with the absolute best. This time around, it's the Protoss player Hero, widely considered to be the very best Protoss in the world. This is GgMaChine opening up with a very early pool. We are on Fear and Faith. Yeah, he doesn't know where Protoss currently is at. So that's a bit of a problem. Apparently we're gonna try and head on back here with that drone. So let's see, what do we do? Oh my god, it's a very quick Nexus first for Hero. Wait a second. This is an early pool versus Nexus first. If GgMaChine finds the Protoss player in time, he's just gonna be able to destroy this, no? Okay, Hero is scouting, but he's scouting, since this is a 4-player map, he's scouting clockwise. Meaning that he will not see these links. GgMaChine scouting with the Overlord as well. Maybe we should have sent a drone towards the upper right. Are we just sending it? Alright, we're just sending it. He's going to be reasonably happy to know that indeed Protoss did not spawn here. So that means we tossed up a coin, and it landed correctly. GG? Well, that's one way to obtain the win against the highest ranked Protoss player in the in the world. A literal coin flip strat. I mean, nice little bit of probe micro here yet again. Honestly, pretty dang good. Only 4 workers ended up going down. Wait a second. Wait a second. We should not have engaged like that, GgMaChine. Problem is that the pylon is gone, right? And without a pylon over here, we can't really afford a cyber core very easily. We can't really afford any units. GgMaChine did make a natural expansion. He should not have thrown away those links. Yeah, he's catching up in the work account now. Killing that pylon was extremely annoying. I wonder if maybe Hero could have in some way afforded... Now the probe micro or the link micro order is way better than earlier on. I wonder if in some way Protoss here could have afforded a cyber core? Yeah. Honestly, not... Oh, okay. No GG. I was gonna say, honestly, not an unplayable position for Hero, but apparently he disagrees. Yeah, Hero has been very salty lately. He does not like the current patch in StarCraft 2 very much, but come on, we did a blind Nexus first, scoutless. And then you ended up getting about the best engagement that you could have possibly had, but that is just a straight-up build order loss, right? Like, I mean... That's sort of what you're inviting. Hero actually recently posted on his Discord that apparently now in the live version of StarCraft, whenever he's going to go up against a Zerg player, he will choose to play Zerg versus Zerg rather than Protoss versus Zerg. I don't know if he's going to follow through with that, because ZVZ is not an easy matchup, but he's kind of doing the Clem thing, I suppose. Clem obviously not playing Terran versus Terran for a really long time and choosing to play Protoss versus Terran instead. Clem actually now, with the latest patch, is back to playing TVT. So Clem quite literally did not play Terran versus Terran for like a year and a half. And now with the Command Center buff, that at least seems to have triggered him to return to a little bit of TVT again. And maybe it's because Protoss is just more difficult to play in the matchup. But anyways, apparently Hero is saying that now, at least in the live version of the game, he's going to start playing ZVZ over PVZ. We'll see. We'll see if that's actually how things are going to work out. Quick probe scout, though, this time around. And a good old gateway into what should be a Nexus. Now, obviously, this is a modded series, right? Like, this is supposed to be a more, reasonable series for Protoss, I guess, compared to the live version of StarCraft 2. But I think Hero is kind of struggling a little bit lately. I don't know. I don't want to, like, read too much into players not GGing. But there is certainly that vibe, right? That when you're salty, like when you're in a bad mindset in general, your games are going to be bad as well. This is just like with any conventional sport or really anything in life, right? Like if you feel bad, you're going to perform poorly too. The mental space is, how you feel mentally is very important with any sort of competition. So, I don't know. We'll see. For now, though, it's a good old Stargate build here for Hero. Nothing all too surprising. Curious to see how he's going to approach it. Likewise, I'm also curious to see how GgMaChine is going to approach this. Always nice to see a newcomer leading a series against one of the world's absolute best. So real quick, in case you did not see the other series that I've been casting featuring GgMaChine. Honestly, this man has been the most impressive young player in StarCraft 2 that I've seen in years. So, he had phenomenal games against the absolute best in the planet. Taking down guys like, for example, MaxSpecs in Macro series. It's incredible. Never really seen anybody be this fast at that age. His APM is still going to be able to go up at least another average of 200. And that's the crazy thing, man. Like, it reminded me a lot, and I guess this is probably the biggest compliment you can get, but at least in the macro games I saw GgMaChine's play, it reminded me a lot of Serral. Just phenomenal. So, obviously, consistency, that's usually the main problem. Being able to actually perform at that peak all the freaking time. That's what makes Serral, and for example, Clem, such a scary opponent. Because Serral is always going to perform well. Clem is not really... I mean, they have off days, I'm sure, too. But even on their off days, they're still going to be bloody impressive. And that, I think, is the main thing that GgMaChine was lacking in some of the other games I've seen him play, where, yeah, one game he plays phenomenally, and then the next one it just doesn't look nearly as strong. But when everything clicks together, this man is a menace. The real irony is that GgMaChine was 1 year old when StarCraft 2 came out. That makes me feel old. Yeah. Yeah, that makes me feel a little bit old. Anyways, Oracle opener here from Hero into a Twilight Council. So far, neither player really committing to any of the changes made to this particular mod just yet. GgMaChine apparently, though, feeling confident that he does not need to make any... it's kind of crazy. He does not make any Spore Crawlers. Queens actually overall are nerfed. So the idea... Ooh. The idea behind the Queen nerf is that the Swarm Queen is an option. Right? So being able to go Swarm Queen gives you a stronger version of the Queen, but loses the injectability. It's kind of a cool concept. I have not really noticed them being really that much weaker, though, but at least in theory. According to the document, they are worse. So anyways, Dark Shrine opener here together with Blink. Are we gonna go and do the thing that we just saw Classic do? I wonder. Nice interception. Good movement there on the Queens. Fourth hatchery over here on the right side of the map. This time around, it seems that the young Zerg wants to just play a good old macro game. +1 melee here together with a lair. And there we have a Dark Templar being made out of a gateway. Did we see this symbol in the classic games? I do not know what this symbol would be. Let me try and see if I missed something, because I did just read the entire Dark Shrine situation. There's tachyon emitters that increases the Stalker's attack range by 1.5. Wait a second, this looks like a ranged upgrade. Did Classic just go? Wait a second, in that game against Reynor, did Classic just forget one of the main buffs to the Stalker? Because he got the Dark Shrine... he got the Blink improvement. Oh no, did he forget the ranged upgrade for the unit itself as well? So this increases Stalker's attack range by 1.5, if this is indeed called the tachyon emitters. Maybe he did make it. Maybe I just missed it. But that would have been a pretty big oversight, actually. Pretty big mistake, if that is indeed the case. 1.5 range on units is huge. Here we go, by the way. We do have the DTs trying to get some work done. The one in the natural expansion just cleaned out, but that's still 11 drones now in total. Not a bad start. Yeah, and considering there are only 100 minerals, we may as well. 100 minerals, 100 gas for the DT. So the ability's name should pop up here on the right side in just a moment when the ability is 15 seconds from finishing. Yep. I don't believe Classic got this. Unless I missed it, which is very possible, but I don't believe Classic got this when he was doing his mass Stalker play against Reynor. And that, I guess, is just showing you how new these games are, right? Like, obviously, we can look at this and think, ah, yeah, no, this seems very broken, or this seems very underpowered, or whatever, right? But ultimately, a lot of this just requires a ton of practice. We can't really tell how any of this truly is until a lot of people end up playing this mod, or until Blizzard makes it a official change. That's when people will practice it. Right now, it's very much so just up in the air, and I think we can mostly judge things for concepts rather than, yeah, actual balance. But I gotta say, even the modded run so far, right, like all the games that I have seen, Zerg seems to be maybe a little bit too powerful. Maybe a little bit too powerful. I don't know. Maybe Protoss just looks a little bit underwhelming. I'm not exactly sure, but there's a lot of cool ideas that can be executed. Should certainly, if you're gonna go Stalkers, you should certainly also be going for the, yeah, he does have the ranged upgrade now. The little beam of the Stalkers is greenish. You see that? That's kind of sick. You should also certainly be going for the shield buff for Stalkers. I think it'll make a lot of sense. He's got all the tech for it, but now I think he's forgetting that one. So we first have Classic forgetting one of the two upgrades, and then Hero seems to be forgetting the alternative upgrade as well. We should really be getting both. Colossi, though, getting their ranged upgrade. And I'm assuming that they will then also end up getting their upgrade to be more roasty toasty, right? Their damage over time boost. So we're going... Yeah, there we go. So that's the face armor. That's for the Stalkers. And I'm assuming if we then also get the roast ability for the Colossus, we have a very common unit composition. So Stalker Colossus with some sentries for support. But then with some more powerful buffs. Obviously, though, this also means that all of these upgrades and all of these attacks just hit later. Because these researches are really, really slow. So that's the trade-off. Yes, you end up getting those units out, and they are going to be much stronger. But then, normally, you would want to attack before Lurkers are even out, and let alone Vipers being out, and let alone Seismic Spines being done. And that is, I think, the problem that we are going to see Hero run into now. Yes, he's got the more strong mid-game unit composition. But this is no longer a mid-game Zerg army. Fleet Beacon because of it. Zergling's going in. Ooh, he does blink one of the Stalkers into that little choke point. No door required this time around for Hero. GgMaChine running very low on gas. He's not really doing anything that he couldn't be doing, though, in the live version of the game, right? As far as I can tell here, GgMaChine not really opting to do anything weird. Really just treating this as a regular game of Zerg versus Protoss. Probably just trying to see if he can find the bottleneck. Ooh, there's the blink. Ooh, and there's the recharge as well on the shields. My god. You know what? These Colossi, they're putting in quite a bit of work. They're not even fully upgraded yet, though. You need to make sure you have detection, but there we go. More observers are showing up. That'll be the end of all the Lurkers. Huh. Charge coming in as well. I really like the idea. Actually, this is like the absolute no-brainer implementation that I think they should 100% add to the ladder. Pretty much no matter what. I don't think anybody would disagree. Being able to manually cast charge. It's going to put it on cooldown, but at least you can run Zealots around the map a little bit quick. I think that's a no-brainer. It seems very useful. Overextension right here from Hero, though. Oh. Abduction on a single Stalker. A little bit ambitious. Probably not worth wasting the energy for, but... ultimately, this is Hero going too deep onto creep. Bunch of Zerglings going in as well. And while the Stalkers are able to escape over here on the left side flank, the problem that Hero is running into is that he's on 3 bases. And he's going up against the Zerg, who is getting his 6th. Right, so even though all of these individual fights, I mean, if we don't consider the overextension, all of the individual fights outside of the overextension have been good. Hero does not have the economy, really, to go toe-to-toe with this type of Zerg army. We have 96 drones here versus 66 probes. So GgMaChine can effectively just swarm over the map. Now, what's really ironic, though, is that GgMaChine has been given all these shiny new toys. All these new Zerg upgrades, all these new Zerg buffs. But he's playing none of them. Not even bothering here with, like, the plus 10 Hydra HP, which is a no-brainer upgrade. Yeah, and this is one of the frustrating things, right? When you do organize a tournament, yes, if you put money on the line, pro gamers will play. But then simultaneously, a lot of the pro gamers will not necessarily have practiced. So they're just going to do what they normally do and see how it goes. I think this is GgMaChine getting the notifier that there was a big event happening. So he's like, yo, I'll sign up. Whatever. Yeah, he's just not getting any of the things that this is supposed to do. Oh, man. There's like a certain price point, right? Like if this would be a $20,000 event, everybody would be practicing for it. If it's a $200 event, maybe not so much. The main question is, what is the turning point? At what moment will pro gamers be like, yo, this is actually worth spending time on, rather than just playing on tournament day alone? Hero is doing a much better job in all of these fights than he normally would be, because those Stalkers are just really, really strong. He's trying to get himself a 4th Nexus going. GgMaChine really just flooding the map. Man, I would love for him to take a moment and click the Hydra then and just check that indeed the Hydras can be more powerful. We're going Ultras? Okay. Apparently that's the plan. Normally, though, in the live version of StarCraft, the situation we just now saw would have been a guaranteed Zerg win. Right? Like, 6-base Zerg versus Stalker Colossus. When you're going Hydra, Lurker, Viper, Ling, I mean, that's practically an unwinnable position for Protoss when Zerg has that much eco. The fact that this game is still ongoing, though, means that those Stalker buffs are effective in that regard. We gotta activate charge! Activate charge! Activate charge! They can Naruto run to the victory, man. Naruto run to safety. Okay. Seems like a pretty nice idea. Zergling run by over here on the right side, not really achieving all too much. So real quick, by the way, the two buffs that the Stalkers have after those Dark Shrine-based upgrades is that they gain 40 shield regen over 4 seconds, I believe, after blinking. And they have 1.5 additional range. And I think there's also some other changes made to the Stalker directly. But effectively, the idea is that it's a better scaling unit into the late game. And considering this is a core army unit in the early to mid game, making it also viable in the late game seems like a great choice to me. But these upgrades are expensive. So obviously, if you get late game upgrades in the early-ish part of the game, you end up in a situation that we are in right now, right? Where you just can't really afford to expend very easily. Nidus Worm, though, inside of the main base here. GgMaChine trying to strike back, but he first off has to clean out all of these Protoss units. Is there enough for Zerg to even do that job? Hero right now has a banger of an army, man. He's going through. He doesn't really have a reliable counter, though, on the ground against Lurkers. So blinking Stalkers into Lurkers, not quite ideal. Lurkers right now, speaking of which, inside of the main base, as well as harassing the third, wandering down towards the natural. Third base of the Zerg, in the meantime, is gone. 10 additional Overlords coming up for GgMaChine. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do, but his bank is absolutely massive. Vipers are being targeted down before they really cast any additional abilities. So many probes are dying. Couple Zealots here trying their absolute best to be a nuisance over on the right side. 10 Ultralisks coming up. These are Ultralisks with chitinous plating. He's getting the movement speed buff as well for the Ultras, but none of the other alternative improvements. So there's again a buff inside of the Ultralisk Cavern that gives the Ultras basically lifesteal whenever they deal damage. It's an incredible boost. An absolute no-brainer research if you're gonna make Mass Ultra. But I don't see it queued up. I think it's 10% of all damage dealt by the Ultralisk gets converted to HP on the Ultralisk. Like, that is... That's pretty darn good. Alright, so, as Protoss decided to go back home, yeah, the Zerg economy is still just so freaking big, right? Like, we end up in a situation like this, where it might not even matter that GgMaChine is missing some absolute critical upgrades. Because he's just been mining like 2,000 resources more on average for like the last 8 minutes. Right? So you may end up having a technically better army. You need to be able to also compete with the units that the opponent is able to produce. Here we go. I think he's going to pull the trigger. Not quite. It was a little bit disjointed. Corruptors are going to be added into the mix as well to try and deal with all of the Tempest. Love the Lurker counterattack, though. Love the Zergling Ultra counterattack as well over on the right side of the map. And this is indeed when GgMaChine's APM is going through the roof. So if we look at his first-person view, this is what he's looking at whilst playing the game. This is what 500 APM looks like. Yeah, it looks reasonably calm, right? I mean... Nice little bit of target firing, though. Catches a few Immortals that are sleeping. Lurker still being annoying. Trying to micro these units away to the best of his abilities. Mostly just buying a ton of time right now to get the Corruptors out. They want to target down the High Templar, but the High Templar seemed pretty difficult to beat. Okay, and with the entirety of the Protoss army backing off, this is now giving Zerg a real chance to gather all the units together. Only 26 probes remain. Ultra's only with 1 carapace research, by the way, inside of the Evo chamber. Immortals were gonna destroy them anyways, but that's the reason why the Archons and the Zealots are doing such a good job too. And I guess the Stalkers as well, honestly. Stalkers do deal a lot of... There we go, he's getting it! He's getting it! It's not gonna be done in time, though. That's the vampiric ability right there for those units, but he's gonna decide to commit right now. Does he not just simply have the numbers? He's missing a lot of important upgrades that this mod is trying to introduce. But you know what he does have? Stuff! And ultimately, StarCraft 2 is very much so a type of game where more stuff tends to beat less stuff. Out macroed, man. Yeah, not bad. Not bad whatsoever. GG gets called against GgMaChine. And that indeed means he gets the 2-0 win over Hero. Not bad. Not bad. Now, obviously, little asterisk right next to that result. Hero was playing all of the experimental changes. He was at the very least trying to commit to some of the new stuff. GgMaChine not really doing so until about minute 20. So, you know, that's going to require a level of refinement, right? And I feel like that's something that, in general, can sometimes be lost a little bit. You can have a lot of small improvements that end up mattering a lot in a long macro game. So being able to shave 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, it adds up a lot over the course of time. So that's one of the reasons why it always takes a bit of time before a new patch comes out, before we really know what the balance truly looks like. Because it's also not just like one player doing the work, it's everybody together copying each other's homework, and then ultimately it results in like a specific setup. So again, I think we need to mostly judge this mod on the concepts that it's trying to introduce. And I think I like pretty much all of them. It's very upgrade heavy. So it seems like basically every unit has more upgrades available. It depends on whether or not you like that, I suppose. It means that effectively unit compositions can be committed to harder. The same units can have more of a breadth, I guess, throughout the game. So maybe that's bad, maybe that's good. I guess that's just a matter of taste. But across the board, I really do like the vast majority of the things that this mod is trying to do. GG.